Finn Bolin Thomsen up. He is with Green Key, but I will let him introduce himself and his background. Finn, the floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this webinar. Thank you. Some of the points that I have in my presentation have been graciously raised by both Claudia and Caroline, so I'll go over them a little bit faster. But if I to introduce myself, I am the International Director of the Green Key program. Green Key is a certification program for accommodation and other categories. And I'm representing an international charity called the Foundation for Environmental Education. Let me go into this presentation. So what I've been asked to talk a little bit about is how certification programs can be one of the tools to embrace sustainability. I have a bit of a few slides about Green Key at the end, but of course this is a little bit broader and not just about Green Key. My first part is a little bit similar to the previous speakers, which is of course that the need for sustainability is bigger than ever. The numerous climate change reports we get are quite alarming, and there is a need to act. And it's not just climate action, it's the loss of biodiversity, the pollution, and so on. And I also tried not to mention too much about COVID, but of course, a clear trend we can see is that COVID has not meant that the interest or the need for sustainability is smaller. On the contrary, I see it accelerating in this hopefully post-COVID period. Also, what has already been mentioned, I mean, the need for action is something that is addressed or being addressed in all levels. I think we see, and we will see even more, that authorities will impose carbon legislation that will impact the hospitality industry. The businesses will include this in their CSR policy and act accordingly. For example, when they choose accommodation, the civil society will be there to support, but also individuals will expect and is willing to contribute to the sustainability part. And all of this, of course, has an impact, and it's relevant for the hospitality industry. I don't think I want to go much into the UN Sustainable Development Goals because Claudia did this so excellently, but obviously tourism also contributes to them, some more than others, but in a way to all 17 goals. I want to then jump into the reaction from visitors or from users of the tourism, and I want to refer to some studies, especially what Booking.com have done or have checked, have researched in their sustainable travel reports, where we can see in the reports over the year that there is a growing interest for staying in sustainable accommodation. Another a bit older research from TripAdvisor shows the same, that 79% of travelers find it important, the eco-friendly practices, and also a big amount of people have made choices that are eco-friendly in the past. There's, however, also a discrepancy between the wishes and sometimes the realities, because the feedback from the people that were interviewed by Booking.com also still feel that either there is not enough available or it's hard to find, and maybe sometimes also hard to know which sustainable certification system to work with or to trust, and some simply don't know how to make their travels more sustainable. So really the takeaways are that the tourists are interested and wants to do it, but they don't know how to do it. And on the establishment side or hotel side, they've already starting it, but sometimes they don't inform about it. So to try to match the things. Of course, we recommend that any hotel start, if they don't already do it, implement sustainability practices to meet these expectations that will come from the different levels, to operate more responsible, but also to involve the guests, because if guests in many cases don't know about it, they don't think that the hotel is doing things which they in fact are doing. And I think the classic belief that the guests will be unhappy to be involved in sustainability actions, that I think is not a correct one. Actually, we see in Green Key that many guests are pleased to be involved in it. Then, of course, the communication about it is important, and to go to through some steps if you are not there already. But of course, ultimately, my recommendation would be to have an independent third-party certification, external certification scheme in hotels. So if we should talk about it in more general terms, obviously, I think that any work with sustainability is better than no work. That's the starting point. And what you can do in the beginning, if you're a hotel and you don't work at all with sustainability and you want to do it, well, you can start with small internal systems. There are self-assessment systems out there, or some basic sustainability systems. I think it's important that your journey doesn't stop there, and you fall into what I call the greenwashing trap, because I think external expectations will be that you go further than the basics. So really, I think it's a journey, but you also have to move on in the journey and think about, for example, the ambitions in the Glasgow Declaration when it comes to carbon reduction. The ultimate recommendation from my side is that you aim for the third-party verification scheme. I've mentioned it a couple of times, and maybe it's the right time to say what are the different levels. So what I call a first-party certification is more like a self-declared commitment. It can be something that is set internally, or there are also some external standards that are used, but you do the assessment on your own, and you do the verification on your own as a hotel. There's no involvement in it, external involvement. Then we have this second party certification. In this case, the requirements are set by somebody externally, and there is also an external assessment of it. However, the verification is also done by the same entity, and therefore it's not purely independent. And that's why we recommend that you go for the third-party certification, or the third-party verification, where both the requirements are external, the assessment is externally done, and there's also an external verification of it. Then, what are the advantages of joining a tourism certification program? So this is obviously my recommendation, or my feelings about it, and there might be other arguments pro or in favor or against. But I think the tourism participating in a tourism certification scheme gives a kind of an external proof that somebody else has approved that a tourism establishment has worked with its sustainability standards. It's both a proof that can be used by the customers, but also by partners, or that you can use to show to partners. If you're a hotel and you are really at the beginning of your sustainability journey, a certification program also offers you a step-by-step approach, where to start, what to look for, and I think that's also something that can be very helpful in the process. Then the costs on carbon, as it was mentioned, and the cost on water, energy, especially energy these days, is increasing, and I think all the tourism certification programs have resource saving aspects, and therefore when you save these resources by participating in these programs, you also save money. Then you cannot work with a sustainability program without involving the different aspects of a hotel. You need to involve the front desk staff and the housekeeping and the kitchen and restaurant part, the civil engineer and so on. So it works as a motivating reward at the end of when you receive this certification acknowledgement, and you can use it externally for marketing purposes. And it comes then back to what we talked about before, that in the past we used to keep it very secretly that we are working with sustainability, but the guests are actually increasingly expecting you to do it, and they want to know that you're doing it. There are some studies, I'm going to refer to one done by TUI, a big international tour operator, showing what actually the hotels that they had that participated in certification programs, what they actually saved on, for example, the carbon emission, the waste, and the water use. And it even also helped score better in the hotel satisfaction, guest satisfaction. And the challenges, I think we have already talked a little bit about it, that relatively few hotels and other tourism establishments are still certified. There's still not enough information among the guests about it. They feel they lack the information. The fact that there are different programs or certification schemes on the market can lead to the customer confusion. And of course, if you join an external program, there is always a cost involved in it, that you have somebody else verifying what you do. The costs vary because the schemes are different, and it's also something I'm going to touch on later. And then, of course, the marketing benefits can be a little bit difficult to verify, because it's not just maybe the participation in the certification program that has exactly that marketing benefit. So yes, there are various certification schemes out there. I've made a list of, for example, those that are mainly working with eco certification. There's a lot there. And I'm returning to the same point as Caroline was mentioning. I think if you want to be guided on what are the most relevant certification programs, you should look at those that are having their standard recognized by the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, GSTC. It's a non-profit entity that have prepared these international standard called the GSTC criteria, and then they are if you want to join, you compare your standard criteria with GSTC's set criteria, and where there is a match, there is a recognition done by GSTC. Then at the end, just a few words about the Green Key, the program that I'm representing. We are among the world's leading certification schemes, because we have around 3,000 establishments in the accommodation part, and a few hundreds that are also in other parts, in other categories. So as you can see, we award not just hotel and hostel, we have 6 different categories where we award Green Key, and we are in more than 60 countries around the world. This is how we are distributed. We are born in Europe, and that's probably the reason why we are strongest in Europe. But we also have a quite strong presence nowadays in Middle East and Mexico, and it's growing. The interest is growing from all around the world. There are areas on the map that are quite white without dots, and it's probably either because there are other certification schemes that are stronger in that part of the world, or that the awareness about eco certification or certification in general is lower. The criteria we have are falling into 13 different sections. We have about 130 criteria. For us in Green Key and the organization behind, It's very important that we both look at the management side, so the saving of water, energy, waste, the work with reducing chemicals, and so on. But equally important for us, it's really the educational side. So that there is a training of the staff, awareness raising of the guests, and involvement of the, or demands to the suppliers, involvement of the surrounding community, and so on. It's really important for us, and that's what, in our opinion, makes our program very strong, that these two things are totally interacting. The process is that a hotel that's interested completes an application form, sends in various supplementary documents, which is then evaluated by the Green Key office. By the way, we have national offices in 40 countries around the world. The national operator, as we call it, would then authorize an auditor to conduct an on-site audit, which is also something that's really important for us, that is not just a desktop study. We go to the hotels and we do the audits, and based on that, there is a decision making, which is third-party verified. And that's a process that a hotel or an establishment have to go through every year, basically. So why Green Key? I think that's about one of my last slides. Why Green Key compare with other certification programs? I think there are many good certification programs, especially those that are GSTC recognized. What we try to focus on is we try to be extremely transparent. You can read our requirements online. There's no secrets there. We are very transparent with that we conduct the on-site audits. It's extremely important for us, and we do the third-party verification. Because we are non-commercial, we are non-profit, we are also tending to be a little bit lower cost. We don't need to earn a profit on our program. What we need to cover our management costs, but they go back into the program again. Then one of the things I have heard many times that hotels value is a dialogue, and we offer, as part of being part of Green Key, personal support. So a hotel can call us at any time, asking for how do I need some help with this criteria, and I don't understand how we can do this, or if we do like this or this, would that cover it? We try to help them both with very clear explanations of our criteria. We have a big toolbox with different documents, but we are also there to simply personally interact with them. And that goes throughout the whole application process. And because of the size we have, obviously we have a lot of best practice examples that we are happy to share with our participating hotels. Then the fact we have the size we have, and not least because we have the national offices in 40 countries, where the support is at the national level in national language, and so on. I think it's also one of the points that I hear is a benefit for us in Green Key. And then we have the international recognition, World Tourism Organization, but also the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. And that's really it for me. So thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for inviting me once again.